Hi guys, welcome to the third session of Tabletop RPG Talks. Oh my god, we got this is the third episode. Oh my god. But yeah, we got 3 for 3 tonight. We got not one, not two, but three systems that we're gonna, have a crash course in. So prepare your notes, prepare your listening ears as we're gonna go through some fun presentations, of course, created by our special guest, um, the lovely Toby. Hi. Say hi to chat. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, so
Hello.
it's typical of the TTRPG Talks format. We basically Den Mother kind of invites and drags somebody to nerd out about tabletop RPG systems that I would like to know about, but unfortunately, it's a struggle to try to read through a PDF. So why not get somebody to, who's played it, who knows the system, and they love it so much, they can share their love for that system into this lovely talk, and we get to know about the system as well. So we'll get to know Toby first, our lovely guest, the third guest. We had, of course, Wes in the first episode. We talked about Pathfinder first and second edition, and then we talked
Mhm.
uh, Genesis, the Genesis role playing system with Nerobu, and we got to play it last Sunday. And now we got Toby, who will be discussing Pendragon, Lacuna, and the Seventh Sea. So before we go to our
Yeah.
fun icebreaker, I kind of wanted to let people know, like, how long have you been in the TTRPG scene? Like, how long have you been playing? How long have you been a GM?
Oh my God. Long enough that I could honestly say before many of you were born.
Oh my
No,
god.
no, it's true. Because my first games were like late 90s, early 2000s. So
Um,
yeah, it's that long ago.
uh,
And it's been a journey. But I guess I read the term online now is forever GMs. Um, I'm almost a forever GM because I still love playing for players of mine who have decided to start GMing. So I always love to see, okay, run a game for us and I'll play. So I guess I'm like 98% forever GM.
yeah, there's a small percentage where we get to play just a little bit, and we enjoy that. Yeah. So you've been playing for a long time. It's good to know that because like usually I'm the oldest in some of the groups, so it's nice that I'm not the oldest today. Yeah.
No, you are not.
So yeah. So 30 years is nine years. So but you really started as a GM. You didn't get to like start because like some people started as
I
a
know.
player.
So my first actual game, and I always count it as my actual game, was a game where I was not welcome. It sounds tragic, but now I just laugh about it because it. To tell the story real quick, um, school bus used to go to school. Older batch people would be playing, and I'd be watching them, and I'd be envious, and I kept nagging them. I want to try. Finally, they let me play one time, and the scenario basically was so I'm a ranger, and I was an elf. Sorry, I was an elf. I wasn't a ranger because there was no rangers yet in that edition of D&D. I was an elf, and I was supposedly on a mountain. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Then the GM says, "You feel the ground shaking," and I'm like, "Oh, can I climb the nearest tree?" And I want to look around, and he goes, "You look around and realize you're on a volcano. It erupts. You are dead."
What? He killed
And
you?
I was so happy. I was like, "This is awesome. I have to play this more."
Hmm. I mean,
So I guess they were hoping to discourage, but it didn't work. And, the rest is history. I've been playing ever since. So I started as a player. After that, I tried to learn on my own, getting copies of what I can of the books. I made the mistake of trying to start a Dungeons and Dragons game with the expert book. I don't know if you're familiar with that edition wherein there was the
the
basic
advanced 2E?
companion, expert, masters, immortals book.
Okay. So it's
Uh,
like
those
it's
colored
super
books. Yeah,
advanced. Yeah.
it's like it's a super old edition that had a different book for a different level set, but I only had a copy of the expert set, so I had to start from there, and I made up the rules as I went along. Eventually, I got together with my first actual gaming group who were friends in the village. My dad was friends with their dad, and he dragged me along one night. And while we were there, he was like, "Go play with them." And I didn't really know them yet, but they were all huddled and playing. And I was like, "Hey, can I join?" And they're like, "Here." They grab out a character sheet. You're a paladin. Paladin's name was Shell Downwind, and I found myself playing a paladin, a female paladin who had a ring of regeneration and was, loyal to Timora, the goddess of luck. So
Nice.
that was my first official game, not the first traumatic game. Um, but yeah, and I was a player for quite a long time. My GM was Ryan Mendoza, who is currently the illustrator of a bunch of Lovecraftian comics. Miskatonic High, you can check it out on Kickstarter. I believe
You. Okay.
they've been doing a lot of cup. I think they did a yearbook now as the latest release, and he's been my GM forever. Until finally one day I told him I wanted to try running games, and I think under him I started under his guidance I started running Palladium, World of Darkness, Star Frontiers, Top Secret, Marvel superheroes, and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm really glad that first game didn't stop you because like you really run good games. You I mean just like the small time, the two instances I got to play with you, like it would have been a lost opportunity if you were discouraged on that first game. Like I'm glad you trudged on and became a GM. Yeah. So oh
yeah.
my God,
I I,
Legacy!
I I guess I guess they underestimated how much it engaged my imagination. So
It's like
rather than turn me off, I was so, oh my god, I died in a volcano.
like no wait, that wasn't how it's supposed to work. But yeah, yeah, you got here in time, Lane. So which is perfect because we're getting to know more of Toby. We found a fun, well, air quote fun traumatic story, origin story of how he started with TTRPGs, and then we're gonna do a fun icebreaker that I do with all my guests. We do
Mhm,
two truths, one lie. We try to figure out. So Toby's gonna give us three statements about himself. One of them's a lie. We have
mhm.
like chat can participate and try to figure out which of the statements is not true about Toby. So let's go hear these statements. Hopefully this third,
And
I
and
failed my two episodes with my guests. Hopefully this time around I can sniff out the lie. We'll see about
and
that.
and this is not this is not solely gaming related, right?
Yes, yes. It's all about you.
Mm,
Yeah. So
okay,
we'll
this
we'll
is
try to
tricky.
figure it out. We'll try to sniff out the lie.
Okay. Um hmm. Okay. The first one would be I I have played all but one of the Pokemon games. So
Oh,
that's the first one. And I'm trying to be purely poker face here.
all but
The
one.
second one, yeah, the
Hmm.
second one would be I have had turned down the advances of a celebrity in the past because I had a girlfriend.
Oh.
And then the last one would be I appear as one of the names in a local board game instruction manuals example of players. These are
That's
very
so niche. Oh my God. Okay, so first statement is you played all the Pokemon games except one. Can we know which that one is, or are you willing to divulge that information?
well, that would be too much information.
Okay, all right, all right. Um, okay, so the first one's Pokemon. The second one's you were somebody flirted with you, a celebrity, but you turned it down because of your relationship. And the third one being you are an example. Is it a good example though? A good example of a board game player. Thanks. Here we have Toby. Toby does
You
this.
know how in some manuals you're like Lance, Toby, and Mars are playing a game. Mars
Okay.
is first player. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Ah, okay. So
I was
it's
the
not like
example
exam. Okay, okay. So just for like a simulation. Got it. Okay.
for the
So
manual.
okay. So chat's been responding on what they think is the lie. So they said. So Yan said the second and third one is true. And then also Lan said, I'm gonna go with Pokemon, that's the lie. So a lot of people are pointing at the Pokemon being the lie. Um like I feel like the second one's too true, given, your charisma, you have good charisma stats. That is very truthful. As for board games, I mean, can you see the thing behind you? I mean, I would not be surprised if you were put in a local printout of a like self-published uh board game with your name on it. Like, it is very possible. I mean, look at that backlog. Look at that flex. Like, that's a stack right there if I've ever seen one. So I
And
would like,
and it's just one of many
oh my god, that's how.
many.
Oh my god, that is. I saw three shelves in that flash. Oh my god. Okay, so I think the third one's true.
There are four more you don't see. There are four more you don't see right
Oh my
now.
god, that is an intensive collection right there. So yeah, I think the third one's true. I'll agree with Chad that the Pokemon one is the lie. Can you reveal to us which is the lie?
It's the first one because in truth, I have never played any Pokemon game.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh yay! Finally, my first win in this icebreaker. Let's go. I got one.
If you if you ever get a copy of Marvel Splendor, the Philippine release of that game has me listed as the examples in the in those little boxes. Halimbawa, kung ang sapat na character cards si Toby ay para magkaroon ng tatlong dilaw na buno. Yan.
Oh my god, that is so fucking cool. Okay, guys, you know what to do. Get the Marvel Splendor so you guys see the special mention of Toby. Oh yeah, in Tagalog
Now
too.
on the other one, regarding the celebrity, it has been a story that uh, to the very few who know the whole story, their answer was always, "How could you?" The entire country would say yes. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my god. Like, my brain's like, sino yan? Sino yan? Kinsa siya? The radio show, and they'll be like, who you? Who this? But, well, it shows your loyalty. So, like, that's nice. Aww. Like, so yeah, fun stuff to know about Toby. We got to learn a lot. A lot about you in this particular scenario. So we're gonna move on real quick. I have a few set of questions just to keep the ball
Hmm.
rolling. If Discord, because I accidentally closed it. Sorry. Totally, I am a professional, guys. Totally a professional. Like, I've been doing this for quite some time. Okay, so now we got to know a bit of Toby. We got three systems coming up, and I guess I wanted to ask, like, in these three systems, are any of them like something you're running currently, or what campaigns have you been running currently?
So, my current poison, and I say poison because I can't get enough of it. Um, I'm currently running three campaigns. The first one is a spy inspired game, inspired by Killing Eve, but with a touch of fringe and horror. It's called Suspects. Lance is in it. Vanny is in it, and a new friend who I met through Lance, Eman, is in it. Where you basically have spies who have retired from the intelligence community, they've moved into a condo and deaths start happening. So yes, it's inspired by Only Murders in the Building with a
Oh,
fringe twist.
oh, like
So
the one with
uh,
Steve Martin. Is that Steve Martin series?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I was like, that sounds
Uh,
family.
so the player characters don't know that the others are spies as well, but the players know. So they have a lot of hijinks about, the detective in the scene is like, so it's the three of you again, and she's always
Hmm.
wondering why these three keep showing up for the next murder. And in the recent episodes that we've been playing, and we play every Wednesdays, um, they've reunited again and are starting to realize that a case they were part of in the past in Afghanistan might be behind the shenanigans. So that's exciting.
Oh. So and then they're starting to pick on like, okay, maybe you're not just a normal neighbor, you're something else. Okay,
Yes,
that's
and
cool.
maybe this was all planned to lure us all together, that sort of thing.
Oh shit.
Um,
That's interesting.
The second one is our ongoing Call of Cthulhu campaign. We are playing through Horror on the Orient Express, but I've decided to play all the side stories with it, including Reign of Terror, which was the pre-French Revolution story arc, which connects to Horror on the Orient Express. So that still has Lance, and then it has Jeanette, Adrian, and Rocky. The four of them have been fantastic players as we stumble through the stories. Because with the way the campaign is set up as written, it's different timelines. You have the 1900s, the 1800s, and you have eventually other timelines. But the way I run it, all the players have their characters, so we jump between timelines within a session.
Ooh,
Because sometimes I like having
fascinating.
scenes wherein, let's say, there are two people running to reach for the door, but it's happening both in the past and the present. So visually, it's like this parallel moment in time, which seems awesome as you play. And then
Mm.
the current one is a King Arthur Pendragon campaign.
Ooh,
We started, we started the Great Pendragon campaign last 2017, and we are not done.
it never
The Great
ends.
Pendragon campaign, yes, because it's so good. But the Great Pendragon campaign is a campaign that was published to cover from the time of King Uther until eventually the death of Arthur. And the
Ooh,
players go through, I think, a minimum of three generations of knights as they go through that story. So their
nice.
initial characters eventually become the parents of the secondary characters. And these secondary characters may still have children who might be the third generation of characters players play through by the time Arthur dies.
Awesome.
So it's an awesome game.
Yeah, a lot of people are commenting like, "Oh, I love parallelism, and it's really fun moving through timelines." So, it's really interesting to hear your campaigns one day. Hopefully, makasali ako.
Yeah.
One
Eh,
day.
ikaw rin ang busy eh.
Sorry na. Like hides. So I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm a workaholic. That's what happens. You just
Diba?
want to do everything, everywhere, all at once. My cats.
Hala.
My cats nagdabog kasi workaholic ako. Yeah, laglagan, it's true. Like, it's fine. Like, but I'm happy if kahit one shots, like, nakatikim ako ng Toby Gaming. Like, yay! I was a player. But yeah.
Well, I'm sure there will be more, and we just have to find a way to make it work.
If the stars align, if the
Yeah.
old ones will release me from my shackles. But yes. All right. So now we got to know a bit of the lovely Toby, our guest. Now we're gonna do a deep dive. Now we're gonna start our crash course on the three systems. It's gonna be a bit of a feat because like I couldn't settle for one system. I was like, "Uy, Pendragon, uy, Laguna, uy." So we're definitely gonna try to get make a digestible um like session to try to get to understand these lovely systems. And thankfully, Toby knows them very well and can
Mhm.
discuss it very well. So Have you played Lacuna Underdog? No. Maybe this will be the chance na I can try a one shot or two shot, with, cuz like I've learned the hard way that one shots are never truly one shots. Oh, look at the books that's there. Oh my god, look at that. All three books
Mhm.
in the Dead Tree collection style. Love it. Like I love it. It's
Yeah.
physical books.
When you reach my age, you start choosing which ones you want to own, and then the rest can be PDF.
Yeah. One day I will get there na. So far I invested on the Mage Ascension leather book so far. That's
Mm.
that's my one happy investment. Thank you, Jay. Shout out to Jay for letting me have Mage Ascension. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna.
So, which one do you want to start with?
So I guess we're gonna get first into your history of the three systems. How
Oh,
did you
okay.
get into them first? Like how did you discover them? Because like, you told that you got into really like number crunchy systems and really expert hard systems. But how
Mm.
did you discover them? Like how did you fall in love? Tell me your love story with these three systems.
So, from coming from playing Dungeons and Dragons and World of Darkness and Palladium and all that, there was a long period of my life where I sincerely believed the only game system I ever needed was World of Darkness. I mean, anything people want to play, I'm like, oh, World of Darkness, you can play it as a World of Darkness game. Um, and then I was very stubbornly World of Darkness only, and everything else sucks. Until finally I started to open up to the many other games that people were creating. So this included games like Fiasco, our uh, our Last Best Hope, um, the Dread, and many other systems. And as I started to um, open my eyes to the other games that existed and feel the urge to write my own systems as well, I ended up eventually writing a single moment, which was my first attempt at a published game, which I was so happy got enough notice and enough sales that there was a time it was part of a humble bundle. There was a time it was nominated for a possible award and all this and that. So it basically pushed me to realize, this is what happens when you open yourself to other games.
Yeah.
And I kind of promised myself at that point that I should stop being so stubborn. You know,
Yeah.
if we love different movies and we don't just watch one movie over and over again, then why should games be different? Um,
Amen.
so I
Preach.
I started opening up, and Pendragon, to start with Pendragon. Um, Pendragon came into the picture because it was one of those games I've heard of in the past, but I was always terrified to try. The other one was Ars Magica. And um, when I was thinking of running Pendragon, um, um, we have Adrian, who was my great old one. Adrian is an old friend who was one of those who I looked up to when he was the GM and I was the player. Was telling me, you can learn that. I'm sure you can. And dove into the system, fell in love with how it captures the knightly experience and helps the player portray it, even if they're not familiar. And it just propelled me forward into, stop being afraid. Um, with the single moment having gotten enough notice, it also led to me connecting with a lot of other people I never thought I would have, and that included Ben Werner, Alan Barr, Dan, and so many other friends, Jim Pinto. And from these friends who I made, they of course would have their recommendations of games I should try, um, which eventually led to 7th Sea. And the funny thing with 7th Sea was it wasn't that they were recommending I try it. It was more they heard that I have been a huge fanboy of John Wick's Houses of the Blooded, that I was so in love with that system, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's our friend. We'll introduce you." And I missed the chance to meet him in the two conventions that we were supposed to meet up. In one, he changed plans; he wasn't able to go. In the other one, I wasn't able to fly. So the meeting never really happened. And then next thing I know, I get an invitation to write for Pirate Nations, which was one of the books for second 7C second edition. The Kickstarter was such a success that they had so many books lined up, and I was invited to write the Pirate Nations book, which had the chapter on Labuka. And
Nice.
oh boy, that just freaked me out. It was such a um, momentous moment in my life. I was crying when I got the call. I was
No.
I was super starstruck. Got that out. It got published. I think it won a silver Annie. Um, and in the end, I'm just the world of Seventh Sea is just super compelling. Even if you look at first edition versions of the story, but the second edition is even more empowering. The way they've tried to break stereotypes and open up the doors to more diverse options and more interesting approaches. It's not a perfect approach, admittedly. Um, with a with a swashbuckling setting, you still will have colonizers, you still will have slave
Yes.
stories and the like. So it's hard to really approach it, in a perfect, careful way.
Yeah.
But I still feel it's doing it a lot better and a lot more respectfully than other games I've seen.
Yeah.
So that's 7C.
Yeah.
Then we have Lacuna. So Lacuna is the weird one in the bunch. Um, so Lacuna is by this designer named Jared Sorensen, who has done a lot of really smaller games. Hence, look at this. Look how small that is.
That is
One of the
small.
games that he worked on that I loved was Inspectors, which is basically reality TV meets Ghostbusters. The players
Okay.
play Ghostbusters and deal with the threats, the ghosts, the spooks, the monsters. But part of the game system is anytime during play, a player can stand up, go to the corner of the room, sit down there, and then talk to the players as if they were a camera because it's a confessional booth. And during the
Oh.
confessional booth, anything you say is now part of the story. So let's say it's a scene. There's a monster. We're fighting it. I might suddenly stand up and go to the corner. So they all have to stop. I sit in the corner and I'm like, oh my god, that fight against the giant, that was so bad. That was the moment I realized Mars always carries a flamethrower. And then I go back to the combat, and yes, you have a flamethrower in the
No,
combat scene
that fourth wall. So it does it like it encourages fourth walling. Oh my god, that's so cool.
because it's supposed to be a reality show.
Oh my god.
And part of that game was about managing budget and maintaining your equipment and all this and that. So with games like that, when I found when I heard about him writing Lacuna, it intrigued me because the basic premise of Lacuna is that you are playing mystery agents who are in this bizarre landscape known as the Blue City, which um, feels like this old Cold War noir spy setting. And
Okay.
you have to fulfill missions before the spiders, arachnid headed people in trench coats show
Uh-huh.
up and mess up your plans. And it was such a surreal game. The closest movie I could describe it would be a mix between Inception, The Cell, and Dark City. So I love this game. Fantastic approach. It is among my top five
I
if I
was
were to have
discouraged
play
with the
only.
spiders because I have huge arachnophobia. But the as I misspelled inspectors, it's like specter, like ghosts. Specter.
Yes.
So if anyone's curious, I'm just giving a link to the thing from Drive Through RPG because like somebody's like, oh my god, what is this system? So it sounds really cool though. I love like how you introduce like you're the few people that introduced me to a really nice system that makes you feel like you're doing a movie or like
Oh,
that
that's
fourth wall.
Praxis.
Yeah, praxis, and then now this fourth wall, like this is all new stuff. Oh my god. Yes, we are
See,
faving
and this
that.
is what happens, right? This is what happens when you open up yourself to try anything.
Exactly. And this is why this talk is here so that people can learn about really cool systems and try them out. So now we're gonna just have a quick, what do you call this? Like a short brief on each of the systems. But we can start first with, you mentioned from your history. I think you started first opening yourself up to Pendragon because that was the first one you brought up.
Hmm.
So we can touch base first with Pendragon. Like, um, what exactly is the genre, the dice mechanic? You can mention your a favorite mechanic in the system that you've picked up, like, so just the genre. What genre does it fall under? Um,
Hmm.
the dice system and a favorite mechanic. Then we can do a deep dive on other character creation after the you answer the first three.
So Pendragon basically has King Arthur's Pendragon. That's the full name of the game. Basically has all players playing Knights of the Round Table. There are some optional rules to play magicians in the earlier editions, or to play non-knights if you want to play
Yeah.
squires, for example. So those are also available options. But the main premise of the game is play knights. And part of what makes this game so awesome is how it helps the player do so. You want to share the slide so we can
Yes. Guys, we
at
have
least show them?
slides.
That will be.
May slides kami. Prepared. But yeah, we're gonna learn about Peng.
Teacher moment.
Let's go. Alright, we are going to do a quick whoosh whoosh whoosh. Uh,
Yeah.
diba? May slides kami. Yeah, so where do I go? If
So, uh,
for we're
yeah. So, slide two shows the different
Hello.
pendragons that are out there.
Woo!
The earliest Pendragon was 1985. Can you imagine 1985?
Bruh.
The current one I'm holding is the latest edition, which is 5.2. There is a expansion that was released through Kickstarter recently called Paladin. It's this one.
They
It
can see
allows you
your
to play
camera.
the.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Let me move na makita
Ah,
yung
yeah,
camera.
you're right, right. No, it's okay, it's okay. It's on
They can see your
screen. It's on
face.
screen.
Now they can
So
see
you,
your face. They can see your face. Ayun, ah.
and look at that thickness.
Bruh. So thick. It has
Yeah.
gold rims too. My god, it's making my book
So
happy.
Paladin allows you, yeah, Paladin allows you to play the Paladins in France under Charlemagne. So, you can like approach it less Arthur and more modern knights if you want. Slide three shows you some of the sample art, but the
Ooh.
meat that we really want to go to is slide four. So slide four is what makes Pendragon just one of the best games I've ever played, especially when it comes to the theme of knights, because it has what we call personality traits, and the personality traits are divided between the left and the right side. It's not positive and negative traits, although some might seem to be more positive and some might seem to be more negative. But the idea is you have opposing traits, and these opposing traits are the internal struggle a knight will always be, you know, consumed by. For example, if you are fighting the Saxons and one of the Saxons has just killed this family, but by the time you get to the Saxon, he surrenders. Do you act merciful or will you be cruel? Will you be just or will you be arbitrary? And these these conflicts, in movies we love seeing them, wherein the guy is struggling, he doesn't know what he'll do, and then he'll scream and finally decide. In the game, the way that works, you'll have 20 points in either side. So a standard person will have 10 on both sides. You have 10 in just, 10 in arbitrary, 10 in chaste, 10 in lustful, 10 in energetic, 10 in lazy. And then whenever you find yourself in a situation where you can't decide what you'll do, you test that trait. So in the case of the Saxons who's asking for mercy, let's say you don't want to be merciful, then you have to fail your check on being merciful in order to act cruel.
Oh my god. So failure is rewarded if you want to do
Likewise,
something else.
and if let's say you failed to roll merciful, then you'll choose to be cruel. So even if as a player, no, this is wrong, you will embrace your character. You killed that family, and it's all the drama of knighthood there in that game. the the personality traits, since it's 10 and 10, you can imagine it can be very lopsided. Imagine if you were trusting at 18 and then suspicious at 2. So even if you know that person probably placed poison in that meat they handed you, you'll be like, "Oh, yummy! Is this spices?" Because you're trusting. And the way the dice rolls work is, most of the dice rolls in Pendragon use a d20. Whenever you roll or test something, you want to roll lower than your stat. So if you were trusting at 18 and you want to start being suspicious, you have to roll a 19 or a 20,
Oh, so it's like
right?
above below kind
Um,
of thing.
yeah, you have to roll below. So if, let's say, you had honest at 10, and then let's say Queen Guinevere looked at you and said, "Am I ugly?" And that moment she fell in the mud, so she has mud on her face and all. And you wanted to, lie and say she's still pretty. Then you have to fail honest and roll above 10 so that you could say the wrong thing. So
Ah,
this system by itself leads to all those, those stories in legend wherein you had the hero who vowed never to eat meat, but then was offered by the witches, so he had to be hospitable and ate it anyway.
yeah.
Or this system makes that happen.
Yeah, the nuances of the conflict, because like you can't like some of the problems with some characters is like it makes you like fixed to an alignment, but this allows for like the
Hmm.
gray areas, the nuances of a character, and it makes it a fun gimmick of like the mechanics rolling high, rolling low, and having to play
Yes,
with it.
and unless the rating is a 16 or higher, the player is not obligated to portray it. So
Ooh.
the only time it's a 16 or higher is when we call it an exceptional trait.
Mm.
That's when you look at that knight and say, "Oh, that knight's always honest," or "Oh, that's the guy who never stops moving around. He's too energetic." That means they have a stat at 16. Um, so when it's 15 or lower, it's player prerogative. And I've seen so many games where the players are like, "No, no, I want to roll. I want to see what my knight wants to see because it's fun." And
Yeah, like leaving it
and you
to
like
living
start
in a
talking
chance.
and you start talking to your character like, "Oh my god, what did you do?" Now I have to play that scene. So this is what is the meat of what makes Pendragon so awesome. I added here on the slide other things like glory and honor, which is the two things that you earn as a player. Glory is like XP. Whenever you do anything, good or bad, you get glory because glory represents people talking about you. So you probably will still get glory if it was a notable battle and oh my god, you were the ones who lost that day. So that's still glory. You're still known for it, right? And then honor is the mythical ideal of maintaining it, and if you lose it too much, you're out of the game because you can't be a knight anymore. The game also caters to generational play. You are expected to make families and have children because if your character dies, your children take over and they inherit
Oh.
your glory. So if you had 20,000 glory and then you died, 10% of that, so 2,000, goes to your child. So your child starts with 2,000 glory because they know you as the son of blank.
Oh, okay. So like, the so is there a different way to play characters that isn't generational? Like you can make a completely new knight.
If you don't go for generational, then you just focus on the now, which is um, every year is a winter phase and you check for aging and you check if you advance in your stats, but you don't really have plans of playing beyond if your character dies, and that's still doable in this game.
Ah, okay.
It's just that the generational aspect is it feels so right to because it feels so intrinsically part of the drama that happens. Like especially let's say you have three sons and then the firstborn leaves and you're like, Do I knight one of my younger ones, or do I wait for the firstborn to come back? And
Yeah.
it's all those
Cause
stories.
like there would be some people who would do like the bloodline dies with me kind of thing. So
Yes, and we've had that in game. We have a player who has pretty much turned their back on their family and has sort of like tried to create their own legend. Um, we had one who lost their father in Fairy, um, and then almost a generation later, the father finally got out, but still at the same age. So now the son is as old as the father, and
wow.
it's a lot of drama.
Oh my god.
Um, we can go to slide 5.
Okay. Yes.
So 20 D20 is the die roll system.
Uh-huh.
Um, you always roll below your stat, but it's possible in the game to have stats beyond 20.
Mm.
These tend to be the legendary knights we're in. You might have Lancelot who has swordsmanship at 25, for example.
Yeah.
So what happens there is a roll of a 20 on a normal roll is a fumble, and fumble is the closest thing to a
Yeah,
botch or a
that's it's like it subverts the thing because like in Dungeons and Dragons a nat 20 is celebrated. Here it's like
yeah.
oh shit. Oh no.
A natural one is a success in this game.
Yes.
However,
It's
things change when it's an opposed roll.
yeah.
If if I were just swinging my sword to hit a target, then I roll my skill level at sword or lower to hit it.
Yeah.
But if let's say you and I were in a sword fight, so what happens is we both try to roll against our own skill first to roll below our skill, but we still want to roll higher than our opponent.
Yeah. That's the
So if
fun
I
fix of it cuz like cuz it's the balance of like either getting a crit but if it's a contested roll you have to roll like closer to your number compared to like the villain. Oh,
yes,
someone has a
plus
question. Are you okay with taking in questions in chat?
sure,
Okay.
sure.
So they're asking, are
Emotional damage.
God damn it, Petro. Are there certified
Hmm?
Crusader King style moments? This son has bad stats, gonna disinherit him. He didn't like it, and now trying the assassination. Like Crusader King style
Oh,
moments. Like
yeah, we do that sort of thing in the campaign we're playing only because we're so enjoying the length of the story. In that game, we're already at the second generation, and some players are already mapping out their third generation characters. And part of how that can happen is there's a table in the book for family events. So every year, if you want to spice things up, you can roll a die, and it might say, "Oh, someone died in the family," or "Oh, someone got married in the family," or murder or theft. So there are
there's a
these things that can
family
happen.
table for drama,
Yes,
bruh.
yes. So it's really built for the drama. Um, and then I guess the last thing I can talk about for Pendragon, because we have so many games to go through, is there is the passion system. The passion system is their way to capture how in movies, when knights have that big moment, they dedicate the action to someone, right? For
Yeah.
King or for Guinevere
For my
and stuff like
lover.
that. So that is called the passion roll in the game. And you basically have a stat for the person you feel for the most. We can look at slide 6 just so they can see what the character sheet looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, the
Yo.
one on the right is a sample sheet that we use using Google Sheets in our games. The one on the left is the actual official sheet. Um, but you'll see here in the sample sheet, I don't know if it's readable for your viewers. Um,
It is.
on the right,
Speak it up.
on the rightmost side, yeah, on the rightmost side, there's the directed traits and passions, and there's hatred for the Irish, hatred for the use of poison, and love for family, and loyalty to Mark the King. So you could do a passion roll, for example, to my family, I shall return home to you. You now roll against your rating. In this case, it's a 13. If you succeed in the roll, You choose one skill, and for the rest of that scene, that skill has a plus 10
Yo.
because your passions are pushing you forward,
Yeah.
right?
But it's a double-edged
So that
sword, right?
allows,
It's a double-edged
yes,
sword.
because if you fail, the moment you fail that passion roll, that's when things go very bad for the player. That's when they might fail so much that they're disheartened for the rest of the game session. They have a penalty for the rest of the session because they just feel like they failed their family. Or worse, if they fumble that roll, they go mad.
Yeah.
They run away screaming. The book dictates that they disappear for 2 to 3 months. And then there's a table of what they're doing when they finally are found, which can range from they're living as a hermit in the woods to they're wandering aimlessly in the city to they're bewitched by fair folk and are held prisoner and stuff like that. So, calling onto your passions can be dangerous if you're not ready to face the consequences.
That is pretty cool. That is very cool. Like, because I got to play it. Like under Lance's table. Shout out to Lance. Yeah, because I remembered failing my passion roll, and because I play a gay knight. I play Sir Logan, and then one of my passions is for my lover, and I failed that.
Mm,
That if we ended up having an estranged relationship, and like he ignored the knight for like one duration of the war, and it got to the point like Logan almost died because I kept rolling crit fails. It's wonderful. And then
oh.
he didn't even know that the lover, like, it was a nice story, like the lover was there uh when he was unconscious, and the one that brought him out, like, for him it was just like he didn't care anymore about his lover. So it was like it was so painful
Mm,
for me, but it was so beautiful to see the mechanics play it out that way. So
mhm,
Pendragon's really fun with passion. I definitely love the passion rolls in my experience of it. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite mechanics. I want to ask though, this is like not part of the list of questions that I gave you, so I'm sorry. But in terms of
go, go.
Pendragon, do you think the system has good accessibility for people trying to get into the system? Like, is it something that people can easily pick up? Are the resources available for them to grab? Like, in your assessment, do you think
Yes.
the system? Yeah.
5.2 is readily available in KOSIM. The website has all the PDFs as well as means to order the books. Um, there is also the sixth edition that's expected to come out within this year. I showed a slide 8 shows the quick start document if
Oh,
you want to share that.
yes, yes.
But there is supposed to be a sixth edition coming out. For those who want to take a stab at Pendragon early without investing too much,
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me
the
show that.
quick start book is free and has all the rules you need to learn the game. Um, so you might want to grab that. It's the Adventures of the Sword Tournament, and it acts as a good quick start to the system. Beautifully illustrated, cleanly polished, and you don't need to buy new dice. I'm sure if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, you have all the dice you need for Pendragon.
Yeah, because it uses D20, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the other dice are only necessary for damage.
Ooh, okay, all right. So this book that you mentioned, uh, the Great Pendragon Campaign, that's the starter
Wait,
one?
sorry, sorry, not that. The next page. The next page.
Oh, this
That's the
one.
Great Pendragon campaign.
Oh, which one? Ah, this one.
There,
Okay.
that one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. So, quick start adventure. I'm gonna move your face real quick. Your face is gonna move. There you go. So the adventure of the sword tournament. Oh, I think that's the one that Lance ran, where like we all start as like squires and then we try to become knights. This is the one. Is this the quick start? Is this the same one I'm thinking? We all start
It's
as.
possible because admittedly, what you described is the main first story in the main book, so it might be
Oh,
different.
okay, okay, okay. But This one's slightly different, like how it starts, the quick start. Like if without too much spoilers, like how does it start out? Do you guys start as squires or you're already knights, like established knights? Like you went through the process of knighting already with this quick start.
Yeah. Um, I think you start out as knights in the quick start.
Oh,
In
okay.
in the games I've run, I like players starting as squires because it feels less pressured to not fail your rolls when you're just a square. You
Okay.
know, as a character, you kinda I can still mess up because I'm a squire.
Yeah, there's no stakes, no world stakes here. It's just a little squire. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, so you guys can definitely check out
but
that.
anyone,
But
hmm
the
and
thing I'm
anyone who has
worried about.
played
Yeah,
Pendragon,
go ahead.
yeah,
No, no, you go ahead.
yeah. It's just that anyone who has played Pendragon probably will have infamous stories of whether or not they succeeded on the leaping challenge. Did you have a leaping challenge?
Yeah. I was graceful, that is all I will say. I was a beautiful gazelle.
The, see, the leaping challenge is the story that will unite all Pendragon campaign players.
No.
Anyone who has played Pendragon will have a leaping challenge story.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the one thing I have, like the worry I have is that this has like a big up cost to get into, because like compared to like some previous publishers, they would have shall we say free resources, like they already have all the information in their website. Getting their book as a bonus. So like in terms of
Mm,
like getting into it, like in terms of mechanics, it could be something they could easily pick up on. But one of the things that
mm-hmm.
deter people from getting into hobbies sometimes is the cost.
The
So
cost. Yeah.
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 So is this like something people would have to like pay a lot to get into? I mean, the dice is available, but for in terms of the resources, the books itself, um, is it expensive? Is it something that uh definitely, because like the pros and cons of getting into a system, is it really like
Yes.
something people can afford, or what are the ways they could? I'm not promoting piracy. We gotta support these publishers, of course, but like,
Yes, of course, of course.
but what would be like a cost-effective way for them to get into the game?
Yeah, so the main line is definitely more cost prohibitive. The main book goes as high as for $40, and many of the support books are around $20 to $5, depending on what they are. Thankfully, the quick start is free, so that is an option.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I will state, however, that Pentagon is one of those games wherein the main book alone is worth its price because of the wealth of information it contains. Um, if we weren't after the stories of the Great Pendragon campaign, we wouldn't have needed any of the other books, and the main book would have still been fine.
Okay.
It's just that you know how it is when you start playing something, you're like, I have to have them all, and you, you
All the
start buying
books.
all the PDFs you can, and you're like, next session, ooh, we can incorporate this rule, ooh, we can add this.
Yeah,
So yeah, but it
definitely.
is a bit on the pricier side.
Yeah. But at least there's the quick starts free. You guys can pick it up right away, and with the existing dice, it would be easier to get into. So that's good to know, at least for Pendragon. So
Mhm.
are you ready to hop into the next system as we close out on Pendragon? One thing though,
Yes.
before we close out on Pendragon, can you have a bit of a story time on like one of your favorite moments running Pendragon in your own table?
Oh, um, I keep getting new ones because of our ongoing campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, like just last weekend was our most recent session. We're in um, one player who plays the Merlin analog in the game has been spending so many years in the game hiding the identity of another player because the other player has become a threat to fair folk.
Oh.
His very nature has become something that will undo magic the way we know it. But even after all those years of loyalty, the the Chaos King, as we call him, still questioned the Merlin analog if he can be trusted, and it blew up into this huge moment of frustration and anger as they were, talking about how, how can you question after all this? And now I see you as someone I have to stop as well. And the lines have suddenly been drawn from what seemed to have been over 20, 30 years of in-game friendship is now twisting into a war between two magic users. But in the middle of that, we have two other players who are still furthering the story, with one having been given the quest by Arthur to try to seduce Beowulf. Long story, but I'll leave that short. And the other one having shattered a geese that was supposed to usher the age of romance, but he broke it because he was still in love with his wife, and the geese required him not to recognize her. So can you
Oh,
imagine? I'll threaten the world because I love you, and I'll die for it. And oh my gosh, all these scenes are unfolding, and it's all player initiated. I'm not I'm not I'm not making it happen. They're finding these plot points, and then I'll ride with it and I'll go for it.
that's so
So
beautiful.
yeah,
No,
and that's
that's
just one session.
that. Yeah, that's pretty cool though. Hearing like almost like a five. Wait, 27, 2017. So that means almost 7 years now. A 7 year campaign, right? Because 2017 is when you started your
Yes.
Pendragon. Damn, feels nice, man. Feels nice. But yeah, we're gonna go hop in now after the lovely discussions with Pendragon. We are gonna get into I think you mentioned the seventh sea as the one that you had very interesting interactions with in terms of being able to write for them for one
Mhm.
supplement, and you were supposed to meet a certain somebody, but it's just the stars haven't aligned in that one. But you
Yeah.
guys got to meet through, like, you guys are somewhat in the same circles. So let's have a crash course on the seventh sea, the swashbuckling adventure. Let's go.
Yeah. So we can show slide 9.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah, let's learn about 7C.
let's go.
So seventh, yeah, seventh. Yeah, sorry, you go on, go on.
No, 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 you. I'm just moving slide. Like, I'm just letting you know that I'm moving the slide pa. So go on.
So Seventh Sea first hit the market in 1999 with its first edition book. The first edition rules were very different from the current edition that's now out, but it still follows the same idea of exploring the world of Theia, which is very similar to our Earth, but not quite. The world is a world of swashbuckling adventure, of strange magic, of pirates, of high seas, of conspiracies, of murder.
Dun,
But
dun,
in all, it's also about romance. And
Oh.
with the 1999 first edition, there was a long lull of silence. Reasons behind it include some legal matters that I will not get into. But finally, at 2016, John Wick relaunched 7C Second Edition. And this edition of the book was not just attempting to open up the world and make it more interesting, more diverse, and more exciting, but also wanted to find ways to give players more power in telling their stories. And um, in the latest upcoming edition, excuse me, is Kithai, which is the analog of Asia for the world of Theia. That had a Kickstarter in 2022, and that one, just like the second edition, are still currently churning out books. Partly because some of them are delayed in production, but also partly because some of them are new work that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
So, slide 10 is a nice peek on some of the art. I loved how they approached the art also, in this almost painted style. It
Yeah.
makes you feel it makes it feel very cinematic, very interesting. Can you move my portrait just so we can see the one I'm covering?
Yes, I will move your face. Shang. There we go.
So I chose these photos because it sort of kind of captured 7C for me. You have romance and intrigue in the upper picture. Um, you have mysteries and conspiracies as the woman has that glowing key. You have high action and danger in the 7Cs, and then in the lower part we have one of the sorcerers. This one is from the analog of France, which is Montaigne. And he's using he's using magic called Porte, which allows him to create portals after he bleeds and allows his blood to flow.
Oh,
And
there's blood
you know
magic.
this
What?
there's two types of blood magic. Porte is all about creating portals using your blood, but then there's Hexenwerk, which is from the German analog, which basically is necromancy blood magic as a power. So 7C is very broad because it tries to capture all these, uh, I guess you could say, period period forms of excitement. You know, there's seduction, there's stealth, there's high action, there's dueling, there's uncovering artifacts, there's using magic. It's all in the game in its own way, and it's not just limited to Europe.
Oh, okay.
We can look. We could look at slide 11 for a peek at the character sheet and a summary.
Okay.
So, the character sheet. This is the official character sheet. You'll notice it has a lot of dots for what we call traits and skills, which is standard for most games. You fill in the dot, that's the number of dice you roll. 7C does use 10-sided dice, but it doesn't use it in the way expected of dice. In this game, whenever you choose to do an action that is a risk, that can be a dangerous thing, then it is called a risk as a game term. You
Oh.
will collect dice based on your approach. So, for example, um, while most games are what's your action this turn, 7C is what's your intention and approach. So, you might, for example, say, okay, I want to sneak into the building and steal the artifact. Then, are
Dangerous.
you using are you using stealth to do that? So, um, are you using hide as a skill? Or are you using athletics to do that? Are you more focused on climbing the wall, hanging on the rafters, and then picking it up before people notice? Or are you going to do this by, you know, seducing the guard and misdirecting them? So you go to the guard and you tempt them and you confuse them and you befuddle them and you get out with the artifact. So from that description, that means you choose a trait and you choose a skill combination appropriate to your approach.
It's just kind of like World of Darkness where you add both pools. It's a dice pool system.
Yes. But
Okay.
you have to realize here that um one, it's the player who gets to make this mix make sense. So for
Oh.
example, I might say, okay, I'll use finesse and tempt. So I will, talk to the guards and misdirect them and seduce them while I use my finesse to pick their pockets and, steal the keys. Likewise, another player can do it the other way around. The other player might say, I'll use panache, which is the social skill, and hide. So while I'm more focused on temptation and seduction, that other player's more focused on sneaky stuff. But we're
Mm.
doing in the same ways the same thing. We're just doing it with a different approach, right?
Okay. So it's not rigid to like, oh, you have to roll this and that to get this desired effect. You get to
You,
puzzle piece it, per
yes,
se.
yes, and sometimes that's where you as the player inject your character's personality more into it.
Mm.
Like I might use resolve and tempt, meaning I don't take no for an answer. No matter what the guard says, I'll still keep going until the guard, fine, 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 let's go in. So, because I'm using resolve. So that's the way the system works. And then in terms of the dice, once you have your dice pool based on your approach, you don't roll yet. The GM now tells you the possible consequences and opportunities. Consequences are things you will want to spend on to make sure they don't happen. So the basic example of consequence would be damage. You get hurt. Other possible consequences might be, um, oh, you were in a rush, you left your handkerchief and it has your initials on it. Or um, you get spotted by the guards, and that moment they spot you, the wind blows, it shows your face, right? So those are possible consequences. Opportunities are the flip side, such as, um, maybe while I'm doing this, I actually eavesdrop and hear from the guards a tunnel that is under repair, so there's no one guarding it, so it's a way out. Or maybe another opportunity is, I spot an ally who's imprisoned and I can free them also at that moment.
Mm.
So these once these consequences and opportunities are set and the GM tells you what they are, that's when now you can roll.
Mm.
You roll your dice, and as you look at your dice, you add up numbers to create 10. Each 10 you create is what we call is a set. And a set is basically a race. So I might have a single die that's a 10, so that's one race. I might have a 5, a 2, and a 3, so that becomes a 10, that's a second race. I might have an 8 and a 4, and I have nothing else, so that becomes a 12, that's still a 10, so that's a third race.
Oh, there's a lot of
Okay?
math. There's a lot of math.
Yes, that's however, this is where it gets fun. The races you got, you now choose to spend them. So remember the consequences and opportunities?
Yeah.
Which consequence will you buy out so it doesn't happen? Which opportunity do you pay for so you get it? In addition to
Oh,
spending for your action.
that's that's a lot happening for one roll, but that's
Yes. And
interesting.
so it's a good system for groups that have gotten used to it. But for beginners, I tell you, this is a very huge friction point. Because it's such a different way to view the dice roll. You're rolling for your entire sequence. You're not rolling for an action.
Ah,
So
so
it so
so that
you
one
can
dice roll can
Mhm.
determine the entire scene, kind of.
Yes, and you will role play through the scene. So I have my three races, right? So we role play, and I seduce the guard. I'm like, but maybe you can let me in. I always wanted to see what's on the top of the tower. And the guard's like, oh, I don't know. I'll spend my race. He lets me in. And the GM's like, okay, fine. So the guard lets you in because you succeed, right? And as we go in, the GM now asks me, you're now entering that area where the wind blows and shows your face. Do you pay for it so it doesn't happen? So I'm like, damn it, I want to hold on to my races. Fine, he sees my face. So the wind blows, the guard sees who I am, and we continue to the scene. And so you go through the sequence now, and you're spending your races as you go
Okay.
through it.
So like I guess this is coming from like somebody who might potential like for a game master question in a sense. How do you measure the scenario specific to that dice roll? Because it feels like because like we get used to like an entire scene with multiple roles, but this
Mhm.
one dictates an entire scene. Like how do you know when to stop that role, when the scene ends? Because like that means there's multiple roles of that thing, and that's gonna take a lot of the time. So how do you know how many roles is what?
So that when it comes to that question, it's a question now of the playing group and how they want to approach it.
Okay.
So like in the games I've run, most of the time players prefer to split up and do their own thing. So
Okay.
they kind of have their own role to spend on, right? And then when it becomes group scenes, my basic standard is as long as a player is expected to contribute two races for the scene, I'm happy.
Okay.
So it might be a huge fight scene, and then as the enemies are clashing, you might spend your race to grab the guy who's helpless and pull them out of the danger zone. I might then describe how an enemy takes aim to shoot at you. Then I turn to Jay. Are you spending are you spending your race now? Are you gonna deal with this? And then they might decide, no, I'll focus on burning the curtains. And with that, the shot happens, and so it becomes very cinematic as you check who's spending on what to make this and that happen.
Oh, that feels like it's interesting, but overwhelming at the same time, tracking wise. Like you have to, as a GM, you have to see like the bigger picture and be able to track how many people have what races because
Mm.
like somebody might
The
have
for
spent it.
races,
Yeah, go ahead.
the dice becomes your counter. So remember,
Ah,
they made it sets. They basically did remove the set from in front of them, and that's when you know they're out of races. So
okay. So does it need? How does like you have you played this physically? Is this much better on like a physical thing, given that it's
yes,
visual? Because if
yes,
in a
it's very
digital, it feels hard to track it if
it's
digital.
and it's terrible to do math on dice and digital.
Pain. Okay, because like I could imagine like the coin concept with like like oh it's a raise and you're throwing the dice and stuff, but like imagining it
Mm,
on a digital scene feels very tricky. Yeah.
yes. The game does have its own narrative currency in addition to races, which is um oh my gosh, I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't style, was it? Hero points. There you go. Hero points. You earn hero points by acting heroically, or by triggering certain stats like your vice and virtues, for example. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
your arcana. But then you spend hero points to do more awesome things.
Okay.
Um, so like there's a advantage that allows you to spend one race and you defeat numerous mooks in one blow
Okay.
and stuff like that. So um, that is the other currency that is useful in the game. And for groups that get overwhelmed with the raises, they could just generate races and then those can convert to hero points. And then they could play it with hero points instead as well.
Yeah.
So that's another option.
Yeah. Is that a fencing
Uh,
style feat or?
so the dueling styles, there are multiple styles for the different nations. Um, they are different either on the weapon expected to be used with it or the results you can get with it.
Oh.
So they have, for example, there's a dueling school that uses whips for duels. Yes,
Oh.
um,
Double whip.
there the
Double whip.
the and it sounds outlandish if you think of swashbuckling as a genre, but if you think of 7C, it makes total sense. Wherein you might have someone pull out a saber, the other person pulls out a whip, and the other one goes, "Oh, Moldavi style, I see," and then they duel.
Yeah.
um, Duels are a separate combat scene from fights. So if you were in a fight sequence and then you choose to duel the enemy, it is expected that everyone pulls away to allow you to duel
Oh, that's
because it's a
cool.
thematic conceit of the story, right? It it's basically it's not as realistic as people might like, but 7C is not about realism. Um, one of the some of the rules that people get very testy about at 7C is the fact that all players are heroes first and foremost, which means all player characters never kill. So even if you blow up the building, um, you have planned it in a way that it won't kill people unless you've intentionally declared you want to kill people when you do that action.
Oh, okay. So it's like
And
PG-13. They
yes,
PG-13 the scene.
and many are annoyed with that because you always have people who want to play the anti-hero, or you want people to sort of say, but the stakes have to matter. And my perspective has always been, well, they do. It's just that it's one thing for the villain to fall to their doom because of their hubris compared to you shoving them to their doom,
Yeah.
right?
True, true. That is true. That is true. But yeah, there's yeah, I think I don't know if you exactly answered this, but Jay is in the chat. Hi, hi Jay. I was
AJ.
he was asking about swordsman schools and how they work.
Yeah, so they're an advantage of their own. Each one offers you specific new advantages. Um, Dueling has its own sequence of events of pressing and striking and defending, and you're not allowed to do certain things in consecutive motion, except some schools allow you to break that rule. So it nicely makes each school feel very distinct. It's just odd for some players that the dueling school doesn't really help the main combat scene, if
Oh,
that makes sense. Because
it's
it really works only in a duel, right?
so it's so all of these swords, it's only specific for the dueling style mechanic, like the just for dueling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's because we're looking at dueling separate from any other sword fighting.
Mm.
How do I put it? To understand that, in the game there are the brute squads and the villains. The brute squads are all your mooks. The mooks being, the hired thugs, the pirates, and all this and that. When you spend a race and you're fighting them, a race immediately defeats the mooks. Uh, some heroes with certain advantages can even defeat multiple mooks with a single race. Um,
Ooh. Okay.
when you're fighting villains, however, then that's when they have their own death spiral. So here in the sheet, you have this little spiral thing, which is your health bar.
Oh.
Um, and villains tend to have that times the number of players. So it's much harder to bring down the villain in combat.
So
You
that's
will
where dueling
usually,
comes in.
yes, and if not dueling, that's where you might whittle them down in session one because they won't recover, and then in session two you whittle them down again, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so you don't finish like a villain combat in one sitting.
If it were to be a big villain, yes, but if it's, let's say, the lieutenant of the bad guys, then they could be a single spiral
So
only.
so
Yeah.
how do you end that scene specifically? Is it like a cliffhanger where it's a freeze frame, or it's like the villain runs away and be like, "Ha ha, you didn't get me this time."
So to answer that, I'll need you to move me again.
Move you to the next slide.
No, 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 no.
Oh
Not the next
shit.
slide. You need to move my
Ha-
image. Yeah.
Oh wait, okay. Oh, the stories. Okay. Face. Moving face.
Yes. So
Moving
the
image.
game the game uses stories as the XP mechanic. So unlike most games wherein XP is based on actions you do, here players work with the GM to list down their stories and the goal. So the number of stories required equals the rank of the goal you want to get. So for example, if you're hoping to raise your weaponry skill from 2 to 3, then you need 3 stories.
Mm,
And you will come up with the 3 story segments as main moments in an episode or a session. So for
mm.
example, if my goal was to become better at sword, I might choose my last scene to be fight the murderer of my best friend,
Oh
which
shit.
tells me now I think my first story has to be I find the dead body of my best friend, and then now my middle story can be consulted oracles to know who did it. So with that story in mind, the GM now can use those stories as elements to use in telling the story, and since it's players who came up with it, the GM doesn't have to think of that much stuff sometimes. They can just see which ones to touch on.
Ah.
It's not also uncommon in the game for players to um, offer their story. So, like, we land in Labuka, the pirate island, and then one player will go, "Oh, oh, oh! Can this happen? Can this happen?" And they're pointing at the story. and
Ah.
I'd be like, okay, let's make it happen. And, so so that's where, in terms of cliffhangers and the like, since we're all working with stories in mind, even if I fought the murderer and I'm only in story one, I know as a player I can't defeat him yet.
Because you
I
need to
have to
go
do that by
through a
story three.
progression. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So I don't
interesting.
feel so I don't feel cheated when he escapes,
Yeah, because
right?
it's still not part
I
of the story. Oh.
and I can even play it up wherein I grab him, but can this be the part where he slashes me and I dodge at the last second, but that forces me to let go, and I'm watching him riding away. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and by the way, somebody asked Koroskare, she said, is
Mhm.
this is a 2E specific mechanic?
Yes, this
Because
is
it's
second
not
edition.
in first ed.
Yes, this is
Oh.
specific to second edition.
Oh, okay. So what did they have in first ed for like
Um,
progression?
First ed, from what I recall, is actually closer to standard role playing game experience points. It
Oh,
still had something similar to races, but um, I guess you could say first edition was a bit rougher
it's
compared to second edition.
they said it's like World of Darkness XP.
Yeah, yeah, it's closer to that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. And Jay said, I might be jumping the gun or several guns, but do these mechanics apply in general to Kitai? Kitai?
Yeah, so Kitai is the Asian expansion of 7C. So that has everything from camera to fuso, the analogs of different places. Um, Sadly, I did writing for that one for the Philippines slash
There's a
islands, but that was
Philippine version.
not
Yo.
not in the core book. They cropped it out, and I think they're reimagining it. So I think the Kiwa Islands that I wrote up sadly will not push through. I feel very sad about it because that was supposed to be, it was sort of like a mix between Nausicaa and Laputa. No, Laputa, Nausicaa, and Nadia of Blue Water.
No, it got cut. Why?
Yeah,
Demand.
we'll see how we'll
Boom.
see how they'll reapproach it. Hopefully, I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with something more awesome. But I had basically people on magical surfboards and airships fighting giant islands that were monsters.
Oh, that's so cool. But yeah. Yeah. But hopefully
Um,
there are a lot of people protesting. They want to see your work. They're like, "Wah!"
yeah. Well, it's creative changes. It's there are sensitivities that need to be addressed. And admittedly, when I wrote mine, I was just more happy to just let's have an awesome super Philippines that was never ever colonized. So it's nothing that people will expect. But I guess
Yeah.
they wanted something a bit more closer to culture.
Yeah.
So there.
Okay.
But I do believe most of the rules do carry over. I think there are some adjustments. For example, in Kithai, brute squads can now generate consequences. So in the past, a brute squad was basically certain effect and a consequence. But now I think in Kithai, a brute squad can like, okay, this turn they try to kidnap your character, and then next turn the consequence is they are able to pin you down and stab you. So they can change now what they do. They're more dangerous that way.
Okay. Jay said Axe Gang is now scarier in Kitai.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but that sounds terrifying. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So so out of all these mechanics, which is the one that you kind of like is your favorite? Cuz like you mentioned your favorite mechanic in Pendragon. Which of these like in dueling styles, hero points,
Oh,
stories, that spiral, which one's
um,
your favorite?
so the funny thing is I didn't mention it. So
Oh.
now's a good time to mention it. Um, my favorite mechanic is the death spiral because okay, you see the death spiral is circles and stars.
Yes.
Circles are for your wounds, and then stars are aptly named dramatic wounds. Dramatic wounds don't heal at the end of the scene.
Oh no.
So You might be in a fight, you take lots of wounds and one dramatic wound, so you have cuts and bruises and stuff, but that's fine. In the next scene, you're in the dinner with Queen Elaine, and that's okay. You know, dramatic wounds represent, if you're stabbed and that needs bandages now, or you're limping and you can't walk. Now, you'll notice there's numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
And you'll notice beside, when you hit your first dramatic wound, you have extra dice now to all your rolls because you're pumped up. You're like, let's do this. Let's get this on, right? On your second dramatic wound, the villains get 2 extra dice
Oh no.
because they can see you're hurting. On the third dramatic wound, all your tens now explode. You roll extra dice whenever you roll a 10.
Okay. So it's like,
And then it's only on the fourth dramatic wound that you're finally down and helpless.
okay. So it
So
takes
why
a
do I love
while.
this? Yeah.
It takes a while
Yes,
for you to get there.
and that design basically tells players jump into the danger, right? You are awesome pulp heroes in a swashbuckling adventure. Don't look at a pirate ship and go, we're under attack, what do we do? It's now more go sail towards it. We'll swing on it and fight because you can take all this before you're down.
Yeah. Leroy Jenkins, the
Hmm.
scenario. Jump into it. Reckless abandon kind of thing, because it will reward you somehow. Yeah. Though exploding
So
dice,
yes,
that means rerolls, right? Rerolls? That's what it means.
more on you get more dice and roll because you don't
Oh.
you don't touch your existing. So if I roll the 10, I get a new die, I roll it again. If that comes out another 10, I get another die and roll it again.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. All right. Makes sense. So that
Mm,
the third one really is like you're near death, but they're rewarding you for it. It's like no hold bar.
yes.
Mhm.
Because you know how it's like John McClane in Die Hard. He's bleeding and all, and that's when he starts becoming more awesome, right?
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
the system tried to give that feel of um the rising momentum of action makes you charge in.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So, I guess uh you mentioned it already in the earlier parts that cuz like this is always like a thing I would ask after every knowing about the mechanics and
Mhm.
stuff. Like in terms of accessibility and it being newbie friendly, you said earlier that it's good for people who are used to it, but it's very painful, or at least it's hard for those that are still trying to get into the system. So what would be like a way for um game masters, or like people who want to introduce the system, to try to ease that load? What would be like some tips you can suggest to help people ease into the system?
I suggest um while you might still play with your group of players and number of players doesn't necessarily have to change. You might want to consider making players have separate stories first.
Okay.
That way they can get a feel of how the races work and how the spending happens. And then once they have a better feel for that, that's when they can combine moments
Okay.
and you know that becomes easier. Yes, Puss in Boots is a good actually, Pirates of the Caribbean, we watched the movies and we found ourselves, oh, he's using that advantage. Oh, he spent races there. Oh, that's a danger point. We're identifying those moments as we watch the movie.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, yay! Jay's giving it another chance. Let's go. Invite me if you're gonna play. I'm curious how this works. For me, it's really intimidating, especially like because the majority of the games I play are digital, and knowing that it's a lot easier in a physical setting, it's like the digital aspect might be a hurdle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forget if there was a dice roller.
Yeah.
I think we used a dice. Yeah, I think there was an online dice roller before that allowed you. It basically calculated the sets faster,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
but
Um,
I'm not sure if it's still around.
Yeah, I want to ask though, cause we did talk about the newbie friendliness of it in terms of mechanics and easing it with the tips you suggested.
Mhm.
What about the cost? Like, Pendragon's
Okay,
expensive. What about this one? Is it just as expensive?
so I think if you stick to the core, it's cheaper. But it's hard to just stick to the core, admittedly, for 7th Sea.
Uh,
Um, Only because 7th Sea is such a colorful world. You can go to slide 13.
oh,
We can just briefly show, and mind you, this is only the location books. We're not paying attention to the other books that are out there.
is this the
Um,
one with a lot of books? Is this the one with the?
yes,
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Just so I know where to move your face. Yeah.
and it's 8:30, so I'm rushing because I know you have a you have a
It's
thing
alright.
later.
It's alright.
Um, so so Pirate Nations is the book for Labuka, which is the island that's free from all the nations, and a lot of conspiracy happens there. Kithai, the book I'm covering, is the Asian book. So it's all about the different Asian analogs in this world of Terra, which is the name of the planet. Lands of Gold and Fire. This is um, the book for Africa, and
Oh.
it has its own magic system. It has its own fighting styles. They have their mythology, and the gods walk around the lands. The New World, of course, is the New World, and in this version of the New World, it was never colonized, so it still has the different nations. But there is the colonies as well as a different book that's coming out. But my one of my favorites is this book on the left, which is the Crescent Empire. So this one covers um Iskander and Alexandria and all this and that. So yes, in this version of the world, the Library of Alexandria never got destroyed. So the wealth of knowledge and
Okay.
secrets are all there. And one of the things I love about that book the most, they introduced, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name. I don't want to say the name and get it wrong, but they basically introduced rap battles as a means of fighting your opponent.
What?
You go through rap battles. There are actual rules, and it allows you to fight each other with words, and you know cause them to surrender as they realize you are the better wordsmith. And it's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's like if you had a game inspired by Lin Manuel Miranda. So I love it.
Okay.
Um,
That's in what resource? What book is that in?
that's the Crescent Empire.
Oh, okay.
Um,
The rap battle.
the Yeah, for a while the books, when the Kickstarter was released, they had options to get all the PDFs for one fee. And then I think there were times when there were major sales with a lot of the first edition books where you can get all of them for a humble bundle as well. Um, but the books themselves are not as pricey as Pendragon, but ever since 7th Sea was absorbed by KOSIM, they are now also under that company as well.
Okay.
So they've been helping make sure the books are more printable. There is a quick start out, um, and then there's a lot of community content that's also very affordable for 7th Sea.
Okay.
I know I've written a few adventures for it. I even wrote rules for playing kids in a 7th Sea campaign.
Oh, that's
And then
cool.
other people have had their own spins at it. One of my proudest stuff, which is because I'm a geek, is I tried to write a book series of adventures inspired by the way Dan Brown novels unfold.
Hmm.
So players find paintings, and the paintings have hidden messages, and it brings them across the world to tombs that have hidden messages in the walls and this and that. And I used a lot of community public domain art in order to represent the paintings and the art and the like. So I'm kind of proud of that one because it
Yeah.
looks pretty awesome.
Wait. What's that? Like, can you link it? Can I get a link so I can share it to
Oh,
people? That because that's I'm a
that
fan of Dan Brown, and knowing that you made like an adventure, involving paintings and secret messages, secret codes. It's kind of cool. You can,
I'll share you the link to the free teaser at least.
yeah.
So it's called The Fall of Man. Um, and the basic idea is it's a four-part conspiracy adventure, inspired by Foucault's Pendulum and Da Vinci Code and
Oh my god.
Neville's The Eight. It basically has you discovering that the Vatican Church might have been lying to its people,
Yay.
and which leads to the fall of man, so to speak.
Oh my
So,
god.
um, part of Seven Sea is the concept that there were the prophets, and of course, the prophets, because it's Seven Sea, does try to combine the different religions into one Vatican Church, with the difference being um, this church went after science and won, whereas now the scientists who are hiding compared to
Awesome.
um, but yeah,
Yeah,
so there
I
the
just
fall
wanna
of man.
ask though. I know that there's, people can check the VODs and check the slides, but is it okay if you make the slides accessible? Like we can post it on Discord or something for people to check out, like because you really made an awesome slide with all
Oh,
the cool
sure.
details.
uh,
So we'll definitely should be able to share it to some lovely peeps. If you guys wanna see the details of the slides that was discussed by the awesome and Toby made it. Toby made it. It's really cool. So if you guys want the
okay.
details of the systems, we can share it.
Yeah, so there I shared you the link, and it's open for public access.
Yay! Okay, yeah. So if you guys are ever curious, you want to revisit some of the slides that we showed today of each of the systems, you guys can check out uh, Toby's presentation. You can even follow it now while we're going through. I believe the last but not the least system, Lacuna. It's the
Yes.
you gave it the it's the shortest, it's the smallest, thinnest book out of everything, but you mentioned it's an
Mm-hmm.
outlier, and it's interesting, and the fact that the creator created inspectors, which is super interesting with the fourth wall. I am curious on how this system works. All I remembered was the spiders. Like that stuck to me. I was like, oh no, spiders.
Uh,
Yeah.
so slide 14 shows the three existing books for Lacuna.
Okay. Oh.
Um, Officially, there's four, but the fourth book, which is the first one, was a first edition copy of the rules that had no artwork.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna try to move your face in such a way that uh
it's all right. It's all right. We'll go through it. No need to um, show it too long. But the full title is Lacuna Part One: The Creation of the Mystery and the Girl from Blue City, which is a
mm,
huge mouthful of a title.
yeah,
So that red book, so the red book actually you'll notice has a number two in the upper corner.
yes.
That's because this is what they call the second attempt. It's the second release of the book.
Mm,
Um, the other two books is Read Once and Destroy, which is a setting book. Hence the name Read Once and Destroy actually spells out road. And the book itself shows different possible locations and the like there. I won't keep it on that long. And then the third book is the company handbook, which is sort of like um, a small dossier for you to share with your players about the company. Because
mhm.
the way Lacuna works is the book itself is written as if you were the mystery agent candidates. It
Oh.
tends to blur the lines of the fourth wall, as it talks to you about the game and about being a mystery agent at the same time. The book has portions of the page that are redacted because you don't have clearance access to read them yet. Um, so it's very thematic the way the book is created. The game works, and the concept of the game, as mentioned, you are mystery agents that are entering this mental landscape known as the Blue City, and you're there to fulfill a specific mission. So each game session you play is a mission, and you either succeed in the mission or you have to abort, and the official term is eject from the mission before it's too late.
Is it
So
like
the
is it kind of like SCP? Have you heard of the concept of SCP? Like the
yes,
foundations and the agents with all of that clearances. Is it like kind of like the same vibe?
yes, it has the same vibe. Only SCP is there are weird stuff in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you are investigating it. In Lacuna, it's the other way around. You are entering the weird world.
Mm.
So, um, all players as mystery agents are allowed to be put to sleep. They enter the blue city, which is this mental landscape that seems to be the collective unconscious of everyone. And while in that dream world, they fulfill their missions. Hence, it's like the movie The Cell. But then it's also like Dark City because the mystery agents have certain levels of power or abilities that defy the expected norm while they're in the blue city.
Okay.
So you might have one who um, can tell if others are lying, or you might have one who um, can contact control and inform them of what's going on and ask for assistance when necessary. But then you also have one who has the basic power, which is the ability to read. Because
Mhm.
while in the dream world, no one can read what's on anything unless you have that power.
Read like the actual language or like
Read anything.
oh my god. So literacy is like important in the blue sky. Like if you want to
Because
decipher languages and stuff.
or something even as simple as finding your way around the blue city, right? The person you talk to might say, "Oh, turn left on Albuquerque and walk towards the blue building," and you're like, "How do I know it's Albuquerque?" Oh, you'll see the street sign, but you can't read it.
Oh, that's
So
trippy.
and then it gets trickier when you consider missions. Like you might have a mission where you have to get documents, but you can't read the documents, right? Or you might have a mission wherein you'll intercept someone in the train station, but you can't read the which train is arriving at what station. So you have stuff like that happening. But then on the flip side, depending on how the GM interprets the rules, players can then do amazing feats. In my case, I love going wilder because it's a dream state. So I've had players who had to climb up the side of a skyscraper barehanded in order to get to the mission parameters and the like. Um, I've had people who have a disguise and they appear as someone else and then they tear off their face and it's someone else, but then they tear off that face and it's someone else. And that sort of.
That Mission Impossible trippy mask
Yes,
feel.
because that's the point, right? If you could do spy stuff, then shouldn't you do more awesome spy stuff in a dream world?
Yeah. Uh,
Yes. So that's the premise of the game, and the reason why it's called the creation of mystery and the girl from Blue City is players go into this game without any preamble or pre-planning of who they're playing.
mm,
You don't even choose your name.
you don't even know your
Uh,
stats?
you'll allocate your stats, but when you start the game, you are a candidate who will possibly be a mystery agent. You're told the basic rules of the game. You're told the importance of heart rate. I'll get to that in a bit. You're shared the resolution mechanic, and then after that, it's suddenly you do some dice rolls, and what you roll includes the name of your character, um, the mentor you had training you, what fields of skills or techniques you have access to. So it's and the best phrase that captures Lacuna is memory loss is common in the Blue City. So whenever there is something you're not sure of, the GM can just answer memory loss is common in the Blue City.
That
So
meta.
you're like, oh my gosh, wait, have we met? I'm not sure. Memory loss is common in the Blue City. So with that, the author has explicitly stated that there is no clear setting written because the setting is written the way the rules are written. If you read the rules carefully, you will find the setting, you will see the history, you will know what's going on. And that has been a delight for me as the GM. Um,
Oh.
which, and now that brings us to the heart rate. So in the character sheet, there is a tracker. So you'll see. Oh wait, I should use the slide and not the book. Let's go to slide 15.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's.
Yeah, we're rushing because of your time limit.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, it's okay. So as we see here, the character sheet looks like this patient sheet that you fill up, right? So even the you fill in the circles in order to fill in your name and your clearance and your abilities. Here in the bottom, it says medical history. Your heart rate, which is composed of starting heart rate, target heart rate, and minimum heart rate, is determined by your gender and age.
Oh.
That is a value that you track here on the right, which is your beats per minute.
Mm.
So if your starting heart rate was 70, then you'd mark 70 at the start of the game. The basic game system for resolution is when you do something and it's a risky action, you'll roll dice, and this is six-sided dice, equal to the attribute that was used. So in
Mhm.
this case, your attribute might be force, instinct, or access.
Okay.
The total of the roll needs to be 11 or higher to succeed, which means having a stat of 2 is very hard to succeed, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, you can push the roll, and when you push, you basically re-roll, and you can keep trying again. There are things called talents, and talents are these areas under the attribute. So under force, for example, you see aggression, athletics, and strategy. So if you have a talent for athletics, then if your dice roll failed, you can roll an extra die because of your talent to nudge it and make it succeed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, where does heart rate come in? Whenever you roll, the total you roll is added to your heart rate. This represents your growing stress in the mission.
Oh no.
So if your heart rate was 80, with your first roll of 11, it's now 91.
Oh
With your
no.
next roll of 11, it's now 102. So you could imagine as you're in the mission, your heart's beating and pounding faster and faster and faster.
It doesn't go any lower?
This um there is meditation as one of the techniques that allows you to reduce it by 1d6, which is not much.
Oh no.
But this basically is the brilliant system that makes you feel, we can't waste time. We have to keep going. We have to resolve this mission before we run out of time. Remember when I said failing a mission, you eject? Since you're in the dream state, you could imagine control in the real world, who's monitoring your bodies, can see all your heart rates going up. They might be contacting you, Agent Archer, it's time to eject. You shouldn't stay. Your heart's not gonna take it. And you're like, no, I have to complete the mission. It's that sort of drama that happens there.
Oh.
However, if you keep going and your heart rate exceeds your maximum heart rate, then you can die.
Rip? Oh shit.
Because your character flatlines, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like cardiac arrest is
Now,
a big threat.
now there's the target heart rate, which is when you enter target heart rate for an amount of time, any dice rolls, you choose how many dice you want to roll. You ignore your stats because
Mm.
you're working at peak metabolic efficiency.
Okay.
So it's a good thing as a team to pay attention. I'm in target. Let me handle this, and then he's the one who handles the fight while the others hang back. It's that sort of thing. So that in a nutshell is the brilliance of this system. We're in. You're not rolling um, as excessively as you think. In fact, players often will try to avoid rolling unless necessary
Okay.
because they don't want their heart rates to explode.
Yes. I can imagine just like three dice can do you in already. So everything's gonna be
Well, it won't kill you only because a maximum heart rate tends to be here. Let's look at some of the values. Here, if you are age 34, your maximum heart rate is 186.
Okay, so there's still like it's a kind of like slightly doubled the heart rate at least.
Yeah. If you're 21, your maximum heart rate is 199. See? So there's that window wiggle room to use when you
Okay.
are playing this game.
Okay. All right, that's cool. Yeah. So well,
So
like
yeah.
out of the mechanics that like the heart rates and stuff, which one is your favorite mechanic in Lacuna that you've
So
seen in action?
yeah, so my personal favorite for this game is not an official mechanic, but because they wrote the book in such a evocative way, we're in. So you have the pages with the redacted portions,
Mhm.
but then as you progress through the book, just like in the game, as you progress through a mission, you accumulate what they call static, and static represents when um, things get harder, things get messier. So even the book has portions where static starts to form.
Oh,
And if you reach the latter part of the pages, and I'll give you a quick peek, just not to spoil it, static gets really immense.
oh shit! That's so like it. Like how does that play into the game? Like you won't get to do stuff?
So so I do that in the game as well. We're in um so I make sure there's always an audible meter for static. Usually I use a can and I drop a token in whenever they get static. So they might be having a conversation, they trigger static, clink, they hear it. But then I represent static in the gameplay as well. So like we've had instances wherein they're talking to an NPC and then they learn later because of static it's not really the NPC.
Holy shit!
It was or they're calling control and control is like, we'll come to back you up. Where are you located? And they're like, no, control, we don't need your help. We just need to eject. And then control answers, we're coming to get you out. Where are you located? And they're like, wait, I think control's compromised. And they put the phone down and they're like, we have to eject on our own.
Oh, so it's like static's a distortion. Like they it kind of like is. Oh, sorry, my cat. It's, my cat jumped out of the door. So like the way static works is a narrative element where you can fuck with the players. That's how I might understand.
Yeah, but we've explored it as always thematically within the confines of the event. So
Okay.
like we've had game sessions wherein they realized they had to escape, so they dove deeper, and that's I won't explain that further. But to
Okay.
represent diving deeper, what I did for the group, and we were playing face to face at that time, I asked them to close their eyes. I turned off all the lights. Then I spread Christmas lights all around and turned those on. So when they open their eyes, whoa, it's a different place.
Oh,
Um,
that's so cool. The
we've
immersion.
we've had this one time where in the enemy, and I won't give concrete terms, had captured them and trapped them in this room. So what I did before that session, um, I printed out all these printouts of eyes, of human eyes, and then all around the condo I hid them like in cabinet doors, behind the curtains, on the cushion pillows and stuff like that. And then as we were playing and as I told them they felt they were being watched, I slowly revealed some of those eye elements. So some players started to notice, wait, there are eyes looking at us while they were playing. And then others even started to point it out that, they're starting to notice that, static's growing. I think they're watching us. I think they know we're here. My finale for that moment was I recorded a close up of an eye that suddenly had the TV turn on, so this eye was staring at them during the game. And then the Christmas lights were lined up outside the window to form a giant eye. So when I plugged that in, there's this glowing eye in the window, and they were like, "Eject, eject, eject."
Oh my,
Uh,
that's so cool though. Thematic, like the fact that it's so cool on a. The one thing I'm curious, what is the exact limitation for static, or it's just like it's just a narrative structure that you just use in game.
um, for system, they do have tables on the range of what static can do, as well as triggers on what causes static to happen.
Okay.
So I'll just give this example. Um, you might the agents can trigger static if they mention the subject's name. So you can imagine during a mission, okay, we have to find Octagon. Clicking, I put a token. We're generating static already. Well, we have to hurry. Of Octagon, clicking, I'm putting again, and they start to pick up. No one mentioned the name. So it's that sort of a meta game that makes Lacuna so brilliant.
Nice.
and and that's why the game always requires that you talk to your players about, this is what it's going to be like, this is how it can be. If there are portions that are too much, you can always call for a timeout. You can always,
Yeah,
call
that
for a, wait, stop, I, this isn't fun, and that will be respected. But
yeah.
it's a game. If you have a group that you do know and they're open to trying something more meta, Lacuna is such a brilliant game.
So like I guess the typical question I asked with the last two questions. This seems like given a lot of meta, but like I noticed you kind of withheld, retracted some information. Is this something people can really easily pick up and run for their friends? Does it have to be in a physical setting? It's much better in that setting. How does it work on like a digital setting? Stuff like.
Because it's just six-sided dice, digital is fine. It's a bit more effort for the GM if they'll rig up a system to track heartbeat. um there are a lot of fans who made stuff you can use. Like we printed out these wheels that allow you to track heartbeat in the past, because
Mhm.
some fan made it. I don't remember the link anymore, that was so many years ago. But it allowed us to like turn the links and stuff.
Mhm.
um for purposes of my games, the lacuna symbol, because in the game it's described as a pin. You have a lacuna pin, a lacuna device that you pin on your clothes. So I made pins made, and I give the players the pins in face-to-face games to wear during the game. But in a digital game, then there's no need for that. And then the digital aspect still allows you a lot of fun meta moments, because you could play with the camera. You could um, you could use
Audio.
email and messaging. Although not for Lacuna, there was a different game I had before wherein I got the players' permission to contact them on their cell phones and email devices. So during the game, I had other players sending them messages. I heard you need this help. I know you don't know me, but you have to do this. And they're like, I think I'm going to attack him, because they're getting messages from a total stranger. But it was part of this larger game that it had around 30 volunteers who were helping me make the experience for four players more awesome.
Oh,
It included some packages that were mailed, some emails that were sent. One even made audio recordings and started sending it as, I can't write to you because I'm on the run, but please, this is my warning. So it became
that's
super
so.
immersive in that way.
That's all
So you
like.
could still do that with a Lacuna game online, right?
Okay, yeah, cause like I've done an instance where I played this Call of Cthulhu game. Just it's more like a self insert because, uh, with some people it's much easier for them to try a system if it's self insert. And then
Mm.
I connected. So there's my mic. I connected a soundboard to my mic.
Nice.
So, and then suddenly the door opens. I'd play a soundbite of the door opening, and they're freaking out. And then I would be like, um, so describe your room. It's very detailed. Um, and there would be like instances where I would use Discord to message them with a different username, so they're freaking out.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I think it's possible. Just needs a lot of setup.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an interesting system because of the meta play, and that
Mm-hmm.
like by the way, what are like the common like I guess trigger warnings for this kind of game if the people get into it?
I think the formal trigger warnings would definitely be spiders and conspiracies, as well as body horror.
Okay.
The game does lean towards body horror. Um, I guess the best way to describe Lacuna as a trigger warning scope is it's very Cronenberg in certain areas. If you're
Cronenberg.
familiar with the films of
Yeah.
Cronenberg, then you have a feel of what Lacuna tries to hit on when it comes to sci-fi and weird.
Okay.
Another movie that could be a good example would be Existence, if you've heard of that one.
No, not yet. That's. But I've heard of Cronenberg. Cronenberg has an extensive movie list that's just like body horror and sci-fi. Uh,
Yeah.
meaning.
So, but it doesn't have to go there unless you want to explore that.
Okay.
Um, Lacuna can be just very Matrix slash um, the Adjustment Bureau, and you can play it in that way if you want.
Okay. Yeah. One more thing I have to ask for Lacuna, because like uh compared to the previous two systems, like there's so much resources, and like you can imagine a long-term campaign because there's just so much of the world, so much of the lore
Mm-hmm.
that's embedded in these books, like once like three generations worth of content. Seventh
Mm-hmm.
Sea has multiple worlds. With Lacuna, does it have good replayability? Like, that is it something you can do for a long campaign, or is it like it's a
Um,
gimmicky one-time thing?
so some years back, I was running a ongoing Lacuna campaign with indiscriminate number of groups, meaning every Lacuna session I ran was part of the same story.
Okay.
Um, so players who played multiple times got the gist of the ongoing story. Players who were there for one shots and the like still got the Lacuna experience, and it was still different for everyone who played. That ended as a campaign many months down the line because I decided my ultimate twist, because I was having so much fun with it and the group I was playing with, was that it was actually connected to another campaign we were playing, and that was Bliss Stage. Bliss Stage was your Evangelion. You are playing kids fighting aliens because the rest of the world has gone asleep. And I was like, oh, that kind of connects with Lacuna. So I kind of saw it as non-official connection was the adults who were asleep in Bliss Stage. Some of them were awake enough to become mystery agents as they were trying to figure out why they were asleep, and then the kids in Bliss Stage tried to liberate them. So that was the connection I made. But the main book alone, which is $10, is the main source of everything we've played with. The extra books that we've gotten recently from the Kickstarter are just added fluff. You don't need them at all.
Oh, so it's actually really cheap. Like it's really it cost out of the three. This is the cheapest one. That's
Yes.
cool. I like the meta though. I
Uh,
like the meta play, like be messing with your players and like outside of the usual mechanics and elements, just
mhm.
adding to it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I guess that, like one more, like you've mentioned a lot of fun story beats with this one. Just to wrap up, although unless you have something to add
Mhm.
to Lacuna, do you have anything to add with the
No,
Lacuna?
no.
Okay.
I'm just happy to be able to talk about it because so few people know of it.
Yeah, now I know. Now people know. Now all of China knows. Joke. So I guess winding down to like we've basically given a crash course. Everybody prepare a one-fourth sheet of paper. Toby will give us questions and we will end the joke. With all these systems that you've gone through, how have they shaped your GMing style?
I
Like,
think. the big yeah, I think the biggest thing that they've contributed to me is the realization that different game systems really tackle different experiences. It's easy to think of game systems as how do you resolve an action, and then that's how you compare if a game system is better than the other. But my my realization has been it's not about resolving an action, but more how does it make the player feel, right? So like in 7C, since you rolled and collected your races and now you're just spending them, you're not worrying about failure anymore. You're just worrying about where you want it to go. And that's such a different mindset to another game wherein you're rolling each time to see if you make it.
Mhm.
Likewise, Lacuna has that, it's that carnival feel of push your luck and how far will you keep going before your character's head pops and his heart gives up. So I love that despite the difference in size and the width of the system, there's very different experiences to be had from each one. And some of them even challenge notions that we have been ingrained with because of gaming. For example, Pendragon tells you to metagame, right? It
Yeah.
tells you maybe you should lie because the die says you should lie. That's metagaming already. But it does it so well because you're now doing it to embrace that knighthood. 7C also tells you to metagame in terms of stories.
Mhm.
I'll go there because that can be a trigger for my story. But it's not a bad thing. See? So and that's what I love about these new systems. They challenge notions we're used to. And they make us realize that, even if we love gaming so much already, we might be shooting ourselves in the foot by not allowing ourselves to try more.
Yeah. That's you hit the nail on the head so hard. Like that was I couldn't have said it better myself, or that was just good. Like I encourage anyone, like I'm especially a lot of people when it's really hard to try to introduce systems like, oh, you're trying to say this system's better. No, that's not the case. You just have to experience it. Like try to open yourself
Mm.
up to various experiences and different types of storytelling. Like that's the beauty of trying different systems and not locking yourself to just one. Just
Yes.
giving that chance to get a feel of what that system can do for your story. And at the end of the day, it's all fun. Like especially systems like this that allow you to do more narratively, like in your mechanics
Hmm.
and roles. It's not just locked to a dice, and mechanics that complement it. It's nice. It's a nice icing on the cake. So yeah. um one more thing, I guess, because we got through all of this, and you kind of gave a good elevator pitch already with all these systems. Like, galing talaga ni Toby. Galing talaga magsalita ni Toby. The
I'm just
charisma.
I'm just I'm just very happy. I'm just very happy to be able to geek out about games.
Exactly. Like I'm thankful for the time for you to just the fact that you were able to cover all of these like intense systems in like 2 hours. Amazing. But yeah. I guess just a reminder for people, the slide is open. The slides that Toby created and used for today's stream is accessible. It's for
Mhm.
public use. If you guys wanna learn about the three systems we discussed today, Pendragon, Lacuna, and Seventh Sea. Yeah. Oh, that's a cute emote. Yes, Toby is a happy, giddy person who just wants to share all the lovely things.
Yes.
Um, I guess it's like key takeaways of if people have more questions about the system, any last minute questions, that's cool. Um, yeah. Oh, Yan said, thanks for the stream. Lacuna sounds the most interesting among the ones I learned today. Thank you for the explanation. So, yeah, it's a wonderful session 343. I
Mhm.
guess this is my where can people find you in a sense? The takeaways, plugins as we try to end the stream.
We have a slide for that.
Oh yeah, we do. Yes, that's true. That's true. Wait, where's that?
Yeah.
Ayun.
While you're loading the slide, I will state also that please do feel free to contact me in those channels when they appear. But also please be patient with me. I'm very forgetful, especially when it comes to faces, names, and people. So if ever I react as if I'm not sure who you are, don't take offense. Just know I am struggling to remember. But yeah, you can contact me through email, on Facebook. I have the Toby Abad Gaming for my publishing stuff. Um, on Twitter, I'm cranky and old, so add me only if you want to. The blog is not as active, so Facebook is really your best bet.
Yeah. And you have a
This
picture.
is some of the pictures of some of the stuff I've made. Yeah,
And you have a
and
picture with what is that
I'm
board
very.
behind you? What what
Oh,
that?
so that's my day job.
Oh, okay.
Because my day job, I do mobile games and game experiences for different companies. That was a platforming game for a certain TV station that had cartoons. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow.
Yeah, we we worked on a Metroidvania game for their show, and I was pretty proud of that one.
Yeah, that's oh my god, game designer. That's another thing you guys get to know about Toby. He's a game designer, like video game designer.
Mm.
Damn.
See, that's not. It's not just games. That's research.
Yeah. All the things he's touched: TTRPGs, board games, and then mobile game design. Jeez, you've done everything gameplay wise. Yeah. Alright. I'm a game dev in the making. Yeah, of course, Kurt, if you want to follow, like, take insp like, this is definitely one of the people that I look up to on a TTRPG sense. So if this is an all arounder, all the games you can check out Toby in
Mhm.
these lovely channels. And I guess what is Toby up to in the future? Like, what plans do you have now that people can look forward to?
So no official writing gigs as of the late. Um, can't talk about day job, so sorry. But
No.
that's also interesting. But then in terms of gaming, I do try to run one shot games at least once a month, if I'm lucky, once a week, in tag sessions, which is a Facebook group. Feel free to try joining it if you are interested in playing one shots. I cannot promise you a session, but I will note you're joining if you fulfill the questions. There are questions there, but some people they join and they don't answer it, so I think they're spammers. So I worry
Yeah.
about that. Um, and then I also try to do a lot of community created stuff. So I have plans for a somewhat political Call of Cthulhu adventure to come soon.
Oh.
Um, I'm also working on a. I'm still torn, but I really feel tempted to do a your own version of a K drama type of game system. Only because I'm seeing all these patterns present in K dramas, so I want to like codify it into game rules wherein
Do
you
it.
can play your own K drama. But I'll see because it might be culturally insensitive, so I'll have to look into that as well. And then lastly, I am hoping to release more of my personal games. Cat's Dream is one of the ones I'm super proud of, other than a single moment. Cat's Dreams is my Studio Ghibli inspired solo RPG game that you can play alone with cards. Um, I'm hoping to get Diliman the RPG out, which is based on a comic I released some time back. And
Yeah.
I'm also hoping to get Dream Scrapers out, which is a roll and write type of RPG wherein you do your actions, but then if you draw, you get bonuses. So we'll
Nice.
see if those will come up.
Awesome. That roll and write actually is intriguing to me. Like, that's oh my god. And then it's like it allows for a lot of like creatives to like play the game and be creative at the same time. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's greatly inspired by Steven Universe. So you have dream dust, and then you can draw,
Emotional
and it turns into
damage.
objects. So that's the concept of the game.
God damn it,
You're all
Petra.
kids who you're all kids who appeared in the all space, which is the dream world that connects everyone, and you fight nightmares. So
Awesome
I
stuff.
don't know yet when that will be finished.
But yeah, that's a lot of things to look forward to. I just hope I find like the stars will align and let me play under Toby again. That is my one wish.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it
Oh.
happen. And we need to have another session like this for Praxis.
Ah, yes, yes. We gotta discuss
We have
Praxis.
to talk about Praxis.
Maybe season three because like the seasons right the sessions I tried to close it out
Mm-hmm.
in like lucky number 7. It just feels nice.
Hello,
Oh
motherfucker.
god, damn,
Mm-hmm.
it's the soundbite of bone. What the fuck, Metro? Sorry, Toby. It's just my chat being my chat specifically.
Okay.
Kinabato ko. But yeah, that's bone. That's bone's new soundbite. But yeah. Where was I?
I'm in danger.
My brain. So yeah, we'll try to get a game in. I really want to get into a game, and maybe we can talk about Praxis too on season 3. Because like, admittedly, like with season 1, I was supposed to do it 2022, but 2022
Mm-hmm.
was a weird time. I didn't get to do it, so it's just nice that I'm able to do season 2 this 2023, and like. After the 7 episode, I'll try to curate another 7 new episodes to talk about 7 new systems, and there's just so many systems to talk about. And you kind of technically we talked about 10 systems because we talked about we talked about
I guess I guess that could be my final spiel for this, which is I invite, if not challenge, all of you listening to
yes.
consider doing what I do, and that is I've committed myself to trying 12 new game systems or playing 12 different games
Not,
every
not,
year.
not.
It was something I started way back in 2013, and it has opened my eyes to so many different things out there. So I suggest, why not give yourself a similar challenge? Maybe even if it's just like 3 new things each year, and
No,
then build it up. Because
ayaw.
you'd be surprised how easy it is to get into new stuff if you tell yourself that it's a goal.
Yeah,
Gamify.
I'm sorry. Somebody availed Goblin Speak, so I'm gonna speak in Bisaya for a bit. Samok jud ka betra ba? So, salamat jud tanan sa nagtanaw sa video karon sa karong episode. Yaw jud di ba si Betra ba? Okay. I'm sorry if you don't understand. Nagbisaya jud ko. But maybe, there'd be some Tagalog in there. Samo pa
All I can say is, ambot sa imo.
Ambot yun. Ay, nako. Yawa dyan yung sa niba. Pero, like, yung giingon nito be i-challenge inyong sarili na mag-try ng mga systems. At least, new systems. Kahit isa ra or duha, within the year. Buisit. Buisit. The name. Wait, I'm gonna Okay. I really have to end this kay Nigel nagsinamok. Nagsinamok sa chat. Kay humana yung storya. Tapos humana mag-exam na jud ta one part. Bigyan tanan mag-exam na ta. Question number 1. The joke. But yeah. Ay mag-switch na ako ng English oy.
Yeah.
So,
And no, actually, we already did the quiz. You guys don't remember? Memory loss is common in the Blue City.
yes. 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 Tama dyan. Okay. I will pause the goblin speak for a bit and say that thank you again, Toby, for being the third guest and just being so insightful. Like I enjoyed seeing the interactions from the chat, and them asking questions, the genuine
Mhm.
interest to learn about the systems, and seeing that there are some people in chat who are just as engaged and just as intrigued to learn about it. Thank you for bestowing your knowledge and your experience to this small, humble talk spot every Tuesdays. And I look forward to joining in your games. Um, and we're just gonna raid out for now. And you guys can check out the next stream tomorrow, Recap Wednesdays, where I'll be recapping um, I'll be recapping about what happened in Genesis. uh, and then what they call this? You can also check out Toby and all the channels that were shown earlier. And yeah, so we're gonna close out the scene. I'm actually gonna let Toby choose who we're gonna raid. I'm gonna switch up to magbisaya na dyan ko gamay while we're waiting. Kinsa imong ipili or i-choose for raid. Let me. Oh no.
What happens? I don't know what it means when you choose for raid.
Okay, so usually pag human or pag human or pag mag-end ang stream, pwede tayo mag-send ng the people that are watching to another person as a means of support. Twitch has a nice community
Mm,
system where after you do your
okay,
stream, you can send your support to another person, and I like that. That's one of the things I like
cool.
about Twitch, which is
So I choose dito sa follow-thon.
uh, check natin Kinsay Live kasi it only applies to live people. So I'll give you
Ah, okay.
a category that you feel like, uy, nice ni. Raid nato si Ana. I won't mention the name. I'll just mention the category and whatever you pick, we will follow. We will follow your
Okay.
guidance. Uh, kung mag-load ang Twitch, my God. Okay. So, naadjud nag-play ng Final Fantasy 6. Xenogears. Nag, naay, naay Dungeons and Dragons. Char. Um,
I think Xenogears.
Xenogears. You wanna read Xenogears? Okay. So,
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
sige. Nag-choose si Toby. So, we're gonna raid Bit Wizard. He's playing Xenogears right now. So, siya din nagsabi. Raid message. Um, we will say the raid message is prepare 1/4 sheet of paper. Tapos sa mukha, oy. What did kasabot ang 1/4 sheet of paper? Uh, exams are coming. Pwede din yung uh, ano yung line din, yung memory loss. What was that? Memory loss
It's
is
common in the Blue City.
this is
Common
common in the
in the
blue.
Blue City
Okay. Yeah, let's use that. Memory loss is
city.
Sige. Kasi wa sila kasabot sa wa sila kasabot sa prepared 1/4 sheet kay kanok win. So, yeah, memory loss is common in the Blue City. Just spam that to Bitwizard. He's not gonna understand what the heck that is. But again, thank you, Toby. Record time. You're just awesome. General
Thank you for
awesome
having
person.
me.
I'll see you guys in the next stream, and you guys don't forget your dinners. Eat everything, or else. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.